Hey, this is Amy here at Motif Music Studios, and I am going live for almost the last time with this piece, Rebuttal, Hard Conversations by Jeff Millis. If you've been following along, I am learning this piece for fun over the spring break. So let's get started. So today I will be talking about what it's like when you come against a piece that you have something goes wrong or something gets tough. What do you do in that situation? So, for instance, I had this section that was causing me trouble. It goes like this. So it's getting easier, which is exciting, but I noticed that something I was doing was a little awkward because I was starting this piece low, like here. It meant that when I went to come up the octave, I had my elbow in really tight to my hip, and I was playing kind of do 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 do. So then I was kind of extending right here. So it was I was needing to adapt, and I'll tell you how. Oh, hey Roy, nice to have you here in the house. Tech troublemaker here. What a treat to have you stop by. That's awesome. So what I noticed is just the simple thing of making sure that I had aligned myself at the keys actually helped solve that little problem. So for those of you dropping in, I'll play you what I'm working on so far, and then we'll stop again. We'll talk about some of the trouble areas and what I'm doing to try to fix them. This is just my warm-up because I was just making cookies with the kids. Sounds like kind of an epic soundtrack, doesn't it, to something fun. So this little section is now going pretty smooth. I can try to work on tempo now, like have it come up in speed because it's supposed to go about this speed. I'm still once in a while ending late on that. I wouldn't fuss with that if I was performing it. I'd smile to myself and not mention it. But since we're working on a piece collaboratively, that's what I do. Now, the reason I'm showcasing this piece is because Jeff Millis, who wrote this piece, Rebuttal, is actually a living, breathing, very much alive composer who's still creating really cool music. And he has a growing library of pieces for his own students and is starting to share them. So he now has a website, jeffmillis.com, and you can find his sheet music there, which is super cool. So in this section, I worked on something else. Is I had already tried blocking the chords, so kind of like, and trying to figure out like, okay, how am I going to figure out this piece? I'm a little bit sloppy at it. The next thing I did with it is I also worked it staccato. Because I find sometimes that like wakes up my brain to a piece and is like, okay, this is what you want to do. This is the exact note. So you don't kind of smear over it. It's easy to have it sound and have it just get kind of smudgy. So that's something I work to get clarity. The next thing I did was I realized I had torn my rotator cuff last year, and so I had to spend a whole year with my elbow at my side, and I realized I was kind of protecting it still, even though it's healed. So when I was playing here, I wasn't letting my elbow at ease kind of follow the motion of my hand. So if you're a piano practicer at home and you're thinking like, oh, this piece is so hard, that's sometimes the work of a teacher, but you're also thinking, okay, well, where is my hand? Is the alignment right? Do I have the right fingering? Those are things you're trying to figure out as you practice. So let's dive into the next part of the piece. I'll show you what it sounds like. Then I'll show you some trouble spots and how I'm trying to solve them. Let's see. So we'll go from here. So that actually went better than it has been going. But this was my sticky spot right here. And even though I was practicing it so slow, my husband heard it the other day, and he doesn't try to critique me, but he was like, "Oh yeah, I hear you're kind of struggling with that section." I was like, "Oh, darn it! It's still obvious that it's not as easy." Um, so what I did is this one is working in kind of solid chords. So if you have a piece that you're having to make these quick transitions, one thing is I would add a complementary exercise. So I might be like adding triads or chords that got my fingers kind of woken up to that kind of exercise. The next thing I did was I actually worked this one backwards because I thought, well, maybe I can think about like what my hand is doing. So instead of going, I went like this. I went backwards and did 2 notes, going the correct way, but 2 notes at a time I went. And then. And each time I moved further back on the music. This is the piece I'm working on, and this is what the sheet music kind of looks like, a quick glance. And yeah, it's just a super cool piece by Jeff Millis, which is kind of fun. So that's something that I did to work on that part. And honestly, I still have to do it. I'd love to hear if you're listening in, if you're a fellow music player, a teacher, or just someone like, oh, what is this? Practice in progress. What does that mean? So this one. Thanks, Fawn. Nice to have you here. I'm not so much doing requests. I do know little bits of that, and it's such a good piece, but I wish I knew it by memory. I don't really, other than the little. Yeah, such a great one. Do you play that, Fawn? I'd love to know if that one's in your fingers. That's great. I have taught some great student versions of that, and it's always a favorite. So in that section, that actually went a little bit better, even though it was full speed. And so I sometimes check how it's going, if the progress is moving forward, and then I'll continue to be kind of workshopping that slow stuff. Oh, that's super cool. Do you know the Maple Leaf Rag as well? I love that one by Joplin too. Oh, this is so fun to have you here live. Jeff Millis is here in the house and is the composer of this piece. Yeah, I'm so excited. It's coming along. What a fun spring break project. I have zero regrets about playing this piece over spring break. It was absolutely so fun filled. So the next section is this lyrical section. And again, lyrical is my jam, so that's usually quite a fun thing with a piece is a lyrical section for me, although I'm really attached to the rhythmic section of this too. So I'll play that next from measure 21, so that's fun. I do know some Beethoven. Again, I don't always have it all memorized, but I love this slow movement. That's my favorite, and it has that like. That's about as much as I know by memory, but I played that years ago. So next up is this lyrical section. I'm going to do it kind of slow first, and I'm warming up at the same time as playing, which is kind of fun. So let's see here. And that's where it's great to warm up, right? And it's also great to know under pressure which spots are still a little bit that you just hesitate on. So let's try that again. And I wanted to like burst into speed there because it's so much more fun to dun 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 to get that at full speed. Oh yeah, Roy here from Tech Troublemaker. I don't know if anyone knows Beethoven as he has been dead a while now. He decomposes. Oh my goodness, that's cheeky for sure. So yes, poor Beethoven. Well, he's safe and sound now. His music lives on. But that is correct. I don't know Chase, so I'll have to look that up. But thank you. Is that a pianist or a popular artist? Maybe it's someone I really should know for sure. So in this section, I had to work hard on this 1, 2, because I kept having it more syncopated. Like later in the piece, there's this cool one that goes 1 E and it comes in on the and, so that was hard for me to just switch my brain. Yeah, sometimes things that go smooth for a while don't go as smooth, you get a little bit sloppy. So one thing I was thinking about with that little section here is, and then I did blocking. And then trying to work on that transfer. Oh, Chase is like classical. Huh, I'll have to look that up. I know that it's not coming into mind, and I do know lots of composers, but maybe it's someone that's not on my radar yet. So I love that as musicians and teachers, we always get to learn. What a cool thing. And thanks for being here and making those suggestions too. That's really awesome. So the next part of this piece, because my goal is to actually be able to play it for Jeff Millis, the composer, and it's pretty exciting to get to play this song at some point. We're hoping to go live, and I need to work on a schedule for him for next week, but you can check that out on the channel when he goes live with me at the same point and will help me finish up this piece. So here's the next section. Always when I play it for the first time, I kind of warm up with it slow. So I'm doing this in segments so you can hear each section as we go. So let's... That's funny. You can tell I'm warming up, and it's interesting. We kind of can get distracted, and it's so important to kind of warm up And no matter if you're a beginner pianist or if you've been playing for years, it's also important to give yourself space. Like, it's a lot to process. It's also a lot to get our brains in that space of focus as well. So Alexander Hamilton. So that must be another great suggestion. So Fauna, I love that you're giving me all this like homework for after the live stream that I can listen to some really cool musicians. Right there, I was thinking if you're just popping in now, I was kind of workshopping my own habits with this. And I realized that because of a shoulder injury last year where I tore my rotator cuff in a couple spots, I got used to pinning my elbow to my side and like playing and teaching, but protecting the rotator cuff because it needed to stay still to heal. Anyways, but I noticed in these sections, I'm more used to like following the notes with my arm and hand. So I was actually really limiting my movement, and that was like something I need to work on after an injury. So some of you may come back from injuries too. Now I've got it backwards. I lost my focus there, and I was thinking about the motion of measure 42, so that was kind of funny. Oh my goodness, Adrian, that is just so kind. You have been such a kind supporter on the channel, and that means so much to me. I am having fun learning this practice in progress, and it's so fun to see you here live. Be sure to let me know if you have any questions. This is Jeff Millis's piece Rebuttal, and as you know, I get really excited about sharing music by contemporary composers, and I hope it gets other people excited about their music too. So this is just me trying to figure it out. It's getting closer, and I'm just warming up right now, so I'm kind of trying to slow myself down. I'm going to speed up just a bit. So that is so much fun to play. So thanks for being here. Fun, that's a great question. And it's changed so much over the years. I think as a student, my favorite composer was usually Chopin, even though I found his music difficult and it had lots of those beautiful rhythms. It was slow and lyrical. And then in my teens, this was my favorite piece, Bumble Boogie. I think I recorded it. It took about 22 hours to learn, and it's kind of like this. I can't play it up to speed anymore. And it has this. And I just found the music this week and I haven't played it through yet, but that was my favorite. And now for contemporary composers, I could tell you about hundreds of composers that are creating cool things. Right now, Jeff Millis's piece that I'm playing right now is like my spring break crush, so I'm really enjoying that. Oh yeah, okay. I need to give that a listen. So, You know, I'm so deep into piano music that I don't get to know every artist, but again, I'm just so thrilled. I'll look back on your comments after the stream and I'll be excited to take a listen to that one as well. So the next thing, let me know in the comments if you're someone else that's learning a piece. Like, what pieces are you learning? Or I like how Fawn here was just saying, hey, like, these are my favorite pieces. So I'm going to take a look. And Fawn, you mentioned Alexander Hamilton, and I don't know the first movement. So I'll have to take a listen to some of your suggestions after the stream. I think when I was thinking about why I love this piece so much, I love because it has this like edgy sound at the beginning, this part. And it just sounds edgy and fun, and um, it was a great like emote song. So I feel like for students too, it just gives them a chance to just rock out a little bit. So I love that too. Um, Tech, let's see what Roy says here. I love Chopin. Just watch your real. Oh, okay. Oh, that's neat. As the story takes place in Poland. Yeah, Chopin from Poland. And I love, I long ago played this B flat minor one. And it's this beautiful Chopin nocturne. And it was said to be like one of the first pieces he played when he had to move. And he was such an activist that his life was at risk. And his friend said, like, you need to preserve your life. And so he left Poland, but he had this kind of like, I want to say a dark sense of humor. I don't think this was humorous at all, but he wanted his heart to return to Poland when he died, because Poland was where he felt his home was, and he was so loyal to his country. And the B flat minor nocturne I just showed a little bit of, it was said that that was one that just had this depth of sorrow that he knew he may never return home. But I'll have to check out that A Real Pain and see what that is about too. I do know Joplin, and he's kind of considered the king of ragtime, and I love that he's an African American composer and teaches us lots about like that syncopation in the left hand too, which is super cool. I don't have any of his pieces memorized. Memory is one of my trickier things actually as a musician. So if you're a pianist, I'd love to know if you have pieces just memorized, or if or if that's a tricky thing for you. However, just when I said I cannot memorize very easily, even though I have tons of strategies and I memorized a huge number of pieces for some of my final music exams, then with this one, I actually did start to memorize some sections, which is super cool. And I think you guys actually helped me, because I think speaking out some of the things I was working on kind of helped my memory process. So I thought, oh, maybe I need to mutter to myself a little bit more often. So let's play slow. I'm going to go from the beginning and just see how far I can get. And thanks for letting me play for you. It's been such an honor to play live when I'm practicing, because I've in the past had so much stress about playing publicly, because even as teachers, or maybe teachers are more vulnerable to it, you really feel like you need to be pretty much perfect. And it's not a truth, but the standards are high. And especially when you're doing big classical works on stage, that's really tricky. Roy, I love that. That is so valid. Chopsticks and Mary Had a Little Lamb. That's wonderful. Start there, right? You can make it musical. Da, 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 da. That's awesome. Um, Used to play guitar. Oh, it's such a fabulous instrument. And I joked on another live stream that I was like, oh my goodness, sometimes the piano is awfully heavy to carry around. And I'll lean into the camera. I had this time where I played for a wedding, and they thought it was going to be at the lower part of the park, and it ended up that I had to carry my piano in 40-degree weather to the bottom of this really big rural park, and then find out the wedding was at the top of the park, and the keyboard's about 75 pounds or so. It's an older one. And so I was just wishing I was a guitarist or a violinist, like anything but the piano. Anyways. Adrian. Oh, that's really special. And I'm just so honored because I hope that it brings other people courage too. Like, that's the goal, that it's not so much about me and that I'm like learning this awesome piece. It's like inspiring creativity and community, right? And that even as other educators, it's like, oh, okay, I guess that learning process is the same, whether and some people could catch on to something faster. Some might feel slow. I was like, oh man, I don't know where I'm fitting in this. It's a lot of work, right? So I'm really honored that you're here. And I love that inspiring, intimidating, and reassuring. Like, that's wonderful. It's all the feels, isn't it? And oh, that's so kind, Adrian. And I'm glad that that is relatable to students too, and thinking, oh, okay, like a teacher too, we're having to follow like our own music journey as well. And I think the worst thing that can happen is if we totally get stuck, right? Or we give up because we're like, okay, well, we're not as good as that person, or, our journeys are so individual. So that's for sure. Oh, yeah, you have a brother that has a piano and you played it with your own melody. That's beautiful. And I love how you can, like, if you ever get the chance to, like, sit down and put the pedal down, you can find that all the black keys, you can make your own tunes. And you can really just play around. And those aren't planned out keys. That's just like using your arms, using your fingers. And Adrian, yeah, performance anxiety is so valid. And I think there's lots of reasons, and some is tricky because I think the piano culture can almost accidentally nurture performance anxiety, for some that did lots of exams or recitals or solo works. And it's really hard to unpack that, isn't it? I would say that I had a lot of solo anxiety. I liked collaborative stuff so much. So I'd love to hear if you play any duets or accompany people. I find that that sometimes can take some of the pressure off, for sure. Um, so yeah, and let me know, Adrian, what music you're enjoying right now. If it's piano music or you have a playlist that isn't piano music, that would be fun to hear. So the next thing I was thinking through with this one is, for one, I had said that I wasn't a good memorizer, and I never like to say like I'm not good at this, because sometimes it's like how much effort. But I do find my brain works very different when it comes to memorizing, because if I try something first, like if I make something up, I memorize it. If somebody shows it to me just on the keys, I can memorize it. But if I learn it from sheet music, then it kind of stays organized in the sheet music category. But I think I might challenge myself to memorize some little sections. So this week I worked on memorizing the introduction. So I think I have the first 10 measures memorized. So let's see. I'll try it. I'm going to flip the page and not let myself, and we'll just try my memory with this, because that's something I struggle with and is helpful to do it live. I'll just see how far I can go. You can see that on that section, I had to kind of think through. So yeah, and then I think I know the next part as well. So that's good to know that you can always be learning, right? The anvil chorus. I don't know The anvil chorus. I do know the hallelujah chorus, but I don't think that's what you mean. I'm thinking that one's fun to do with chords, so it's not one that's in my memory. It's just one that I'm enjoying. So the next part I was enjoying about this piece was this section, and I do try to tackle certain things, and if you've been following around in this live stream, you'll see I've been trying to think about different aspects of if you run into trouble, or each live stream has had a different focus. So sometimes if you're a student and something's feeling impossible, there's some rare times that actually might not be possible at your level. And some of those things to watch for is if you're getting like a lot of tension or pain. I don't like students playing through pain. And so that's a checkpoint for me that I might say, okay, I need some outside support. I need a teacher or to like kind of workshop this. Or if you've chosen something way above your level that you go, you know what? Maybe this piece isn't a never, it's just a not yet. So that's something that if something's feeling tough. There's other times that we really might think we're going slow and doing things slowly, but we're really just rushing too much. Oh, thank you for saying goodbye. So Fawn's phone is about to die, so you have to go charge it. That's like my constant problem, but it's been so kind that you're listening in, and I love that you've given so many suggestions of pieces I can look up and that you know. Hallelujah. So I hope you have a good morning, evening, day, night, wherever you live in the world. So this next section, I really need to make sure that from measures 11 to measure 17 is nice and clean. And I have to go slower than I want to because the rest of it is starting to get fast, so it's a bit mismatched. So I'm going to see if I can choose a tempo that feels like I can do it. And to choose a correct tempo, I usually go to a sticky spot, and then I choose my tempo based on what feels clean. Bum bum ba da dun da 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 da. Or so. So that was a great pacing for me because I could do it. Oh, that's awesome. You'll be back. Thanks, Fawn. So one thing I did with this section that seems to be helping, and as some of you know, I had a right-sided brain bleed 13 years ago now, and I lost the use of my right hand. I couldn't even play a C scale. And that was after I had my RCT and piano. So I still have a little bit of weakness at the top of my hand. And some little sections showcase that more than others. So I could really feel in this section the voicing. I need to have like that clear sound. Dun, dun, like I'm trying to hear that top voice, but that means it's taking more energy from that part of my hand. So that, I think, is a little weakness. It's not that I can't do it, but I definitely need to keep working on that section. The other thing is I exaggerated the motion of my wrist so as not to cause tension. Instead of relying on like quick finger dexterity, I actually changed it and thought, okay, let's see if this motion helps me keep it clean. And you can do that in your own piano practice too. Like, okay, is this a section that I need to be using that like forearm rotation, this rocking motion of the wrist, or is it something I can use this portion of my wrist and do it like that, or is it something that I'm using my whole back and my arm? So knowing what part of your body's going to help in a section can be really valuable for students and teachers. so I think that's kind of the most fun approach right there for me and seems to be the most successful, but it's taking longer than the other sections. It's okay. Let me know in the comments what you're doing this evening. What does your is this Friday? I think it's Friday. What does your Friday evening look like? Yeah, it's getting there, right? And it is helping me to remember not to pin my elbow to my arm. You want to be able to move. And even if you're just starting, like even if you're just starting the piano, it's a really good exercise to have your feet on the floor, have them about shoulder width apart, and practice leaning to one side of your body and then leaning to the other side while you're staying balanced, because we have an instrument that requires this and we don't have to like always just stretch our elbows out straight like that. We want to be able to move across the keys. Distracted squirrel practice. That part's from. Oh yeah, so that part reminds Adrian a little bit of Tori Amos. I'm sitting outside my student's house about to go in. Sounds good. It's good info and beautiful music. Oh, thank you so much, and I hope that your lesson right now at your student's home goes so well. It's beyond an honor to have you here, and it's just such a sweet encouragement in the journey. I heard that I have 799 video uploads on my channel. So someone asked, what are you going to do for your 800th video upload? I was like, what? I have 800? I hadn't noticed because I'm just having way too much fun. So if you think of a video idea for my 800th video, just let me know. Trying a bit faster here. There. Sometimes I just double check it slow. And it's quite a balance as a practicer, whether to play through a mistake or to pause and fix it. And I try to have a balance. Oh, good night, Adrian. Thank you so much. I try to have a balance of both. So there are times in your practice where absolutely you need to stop yourself and say, is that a wrong note? Have I learned a rhythm wrong? Or am I doing something technically that's causing discomfort or pain? Those things you really want to stay accurate. And then what I try not to do, though, is to every single time stop. So sometimes at the beginning of a section, I'll tell myself, this is your performance practice. And when you're doing performance practice, you're trying not even to let on that anything went wrong. So that is, that's something to think of too. Is this my, oh, thank you. Thank you, Adrian. Yeah, 800. Oh my goodness. So much fun. So you're trying to make sure not to practice in mistakes, but then also to leave room for um, performance round practice where you're practicing the art of continuing and not making excuses. So, and I can be bad for it too. Like, you notice that when I did when I missed it, I kind of gave a chuckle, and that used to be my tell. So if I was playing poker and I made a little chuckle, you'd probably know that I just made a misstep. So my mom used to say I'd give a little smile if I got through an error, and that was how she knew I made a mistake, even if she couldn't really hear what I did. So we all have our little things, but I do practice trying not to let on that I did that. And that time I played into the keys a little bit more to tell myself, Amy, you know this, stay on track. So that's important to kind of remember as well, which is kind of fun. So let's see. I've got one more little section I'm going to work on today, and that is this chromatic section that was giving me a hassle earlier this week. Now I took a little bit of a week, not a weekend, but a couple days. My kids were quite sick, and they're all doing well now, but we had no sleep for 3 nights of earaches. So I took a little lighter, but I was also thinking rest is important as well. And I noticed that some of the sections actually just got better when I rested and allowed my brain the chance to relax. So here's the next section I'm working on. I love that it starts low. It goes from so I love that it kind of has this way of working its way down. Then now I need to ask Jeff if he thinks of this as really smooth, like da 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 or dun 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 dun. I realize I haven't really decided, so I need to decide at some point. And I'm going to actually do a live stream with Jeff. So if you're just hearing that, we will be putting out a live stream together where he actually helps me finish up this piece of his that he's written. I love that section. So I'm starting to say, I love this section. Before, I did not feel that way, even though I love the sound of it. I just wasn't very good at playing it. I'm going to move into that. I just want to check one thing. There we go. So that is so fun-filled for me. Thank you so much for listening in. This is Jeff Millis's piece, Rebuttal, from Hard Conversations number 3, and I have been learning it over spring break and having a huge amount of fun with it. So thanks for listening in today, and we'll see you guys all next time.